tales. We're going to be able to identify all the different elements of different types of folk tales. Our standard says we can recount stories, including fables and folk tales, from diverse cultures. That means all around the world, and determine their central message, lesson, or moral. Alright, now this will give you an idea of what a folk tale is. Folk tales can be all kinds of make-believe stories, including fairy tales that we worked on last week, fables you read a lot last year. We'll read a few more this year. And now we are going to move on to tall tales. And there are a lot of tall tale characters you already know. We will read about a few more. Alright, so let's go over tall tales. A tall tale is a fictional story. That means a make-believe story that stretches the truth. The heroes or sheroes of tall tales are larger than life. That means not all of the characters are boys. Some of the tall tale heroes are girls, and we call those sheroes. So there are girls in these stories as well. Sometimes they're completely made up. Sometimes they're based on an actual person who lived in real life, but it's not what really happened in their lives. The events that happen are made up. Right, through the telling of this story, the characters are given exaggerated characteristics. Just like in the video, they stretch the truth about what really happens. So they seem bigger, stronger, and the way that they solve problems is hard for us to understand. It wouldn't be a way that a normal person would solve a problem. Clicker. Alright, something about tall tales. Tall tales were first told in America, the United States, by the settlers. Alright, settlers are people who came here and made their home here in America. In those days, people did not have television. They didn't have movies. They didn't have swimming pools to go get in the afternoons when it was hot. Okay? They had to depend on telling stories for entertainment. A lot of times when you see movies from back then, people walked where they wanted to go. They would ride in covered wagons. Okay, and a lot of times when you would see them, they would be around a campfire and you would see people telling stories. So a lot of the stories came from this time period. People would gather around and they would tell all these unbelievable stories to help gather people's attention. Right, the tall tale heroes and sheroes were like regular people. They did work just like people did in that time. So the jobs you see will not be like jobs we do now. It's the type of jobs that the settlers had. There were a lot of people who worked in cutting trees, lumberjacks, things like that. You'll see cowboys, lots of cowboys during that time. You may see things like people who lived out in the wilderness. You may see people who worked on the railroad. That was a lot because it was the first way that people started to move from one side of the country to the other. All right, and you even saw some by boat because boats started becoming popular. All right, so a lot of times they would use those people in the jobs the way that they worked, but the things they did were stretched. The truth was stretched. So they would give them courage to do this dangerous work that they had to do. Okay, now here are some classic tall tale heroes and sheroes. All right, thumbs up if you've ever heard of any of these. Paul Bunyan, he was in the little video clip we watched. Who's ever heard of Paul and Babe the Blue Ox? All right, what about Johnny Appleseed? I know you guys learned about Johnny Appleseed in kindergarten. Davy Crockett. Sally Ann Thunder and Whirlwind. One of the girls. All right, another girl is Slewfoot Sue. John Henry. We'll learn about John Henry. Pecos Bill. All right, those are some of those. All right, 4 things that all Tall Tales will have in common. All right, the main character has a regular job, but the way they do it is superhuman. No other human being can do it that way. They're almost like they're some type of superhero that has super strength. All right, number 2, the character has a problem or problems, and they are going to solve it in some kind of funny way. It is not a way that we would solve any of our problems, trust me. So as we read these, you look and you see how they're solving their problems. That's what makes it a tall tale. Number 3, the details in the story are exaggerated beyond belief. That means they stretch it so far, there's no way in the world it could have ever really happened. You know there's no way. And then number 4, the characters use everyday language and are like common people in behavior.
We need a custodian with a mop to the boys' bathroom on the 2nd grade hallway.
So when we read these books, the characters will sound just like people did in that time frame. If it's a cowboy, they'll sound just like a cowboy, okay? They will sound very normal. All right, now I'm going to attach a tall tale today for you guys to listen to. As you listen to it, I want you to think about how that story is exaggerated. How did they stretch what happened in the story? What things could not happen in real life? And then tomorrow, we'll start a new tall tale, and we will actually talk about all of the exaggerations together. All right, this is going to be an exciting one. I love tall tales.